Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Mano Guru Mataya Gale Grihita Utsarasthum Nashaknod Adbhutarabhakam. Because of Krishna's weight, Trinavarta considered him to be like a great mountain or a hunk of iron. But because Krishna had caught the demon's neck, the demon was unable to throw him off. He therefore thought of the child as wonderful, since he could neither bear the child nor cast aside the burden. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Trinavarta intended to take Krishna up in the sky and kill him. But Krishna enjoyed the pastime of riding on Trinavarta's body and traveling for a while in the sky. Thus, Trinavarta's attempt to kill Krishna failed, while Krishna, Ananda Chinmaya Ras Vigraha, enjoyed this pastime. Now, since Trinavarta was falling because of Krishna's heaviness, he wanted to save himself by throwing Krishna off from his neck, but he was unable to do so because Krishna held him very tightly. Consequently, this would be the last time for Trinavarta's yogic power. Now he was going to die by the arrangement of Krishna. Gala grahana nischestho daityo nirgata lochana avyaktaravo nyapatat sahabalo vyasur braje. With Krishna grasping him by the throat, Trinavarta choked, unable to make even a sound or even to move his hands and legs. His eyes popping out, the demon lost his life and fell, along with the little boy, down to the ground of Braja. Tham antarikshat patitam silayam Vishirna sarvabhayam karalam Puram yata rudra sarena vidham Striyo rudatyo dadrishu sameta. While the gopis who had gathered were crying for Krishna, the demon fell from the sky onto a big slab of stone, his limbs dislocated as if he had been pierced by the arrow of Lord Shiva, like Tripurasura. Report. In transcendental life, as soon as devotees of the Lord merge in lamentation, they immediately experience the Lord's transcendental activities and merge in transcendental bliss. Actually, such devotees are always in transcendental bliss, and such apparent calamities provide a further impetus for that bliss. Om Agyantimidandasya Gyananjana Chalakaya Chakshurun Militham Jena Tasmoy Sri Gurubhe Namaha Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindubhya Evacha Patithanam Bhavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasri Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare. Trinavarta, the close associate of Kamsa, had come to Vrindavan, Braj-dham, with the illusion that he would be the one to kill Krishna. Although Putana had already failed with all of her prowess and mystic power, although Sakatasura had also failed, it is the nature of those people who are infatuated by false pride to lose their good intelligence. Actually, Krishna takes away the good intelligence. Trinavarta, such incredible material opulence that he had acquired through his austerities, through his tapasya. Obviously, he had a very empowered birth. Although it may have been demoniac, it must have been very empowered. No ordinary human being, no ordinary living being can acquire such powers that he had. And therefore, he became infatuated. This type of infatuation is such a great tendency for the conditioned soul. That is why, as we were explaining just the other day in the story of Vasudeva, that great devotee Vaishnava who had leprosy, when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraced him and cured his leprosy, he expressed to the Lord that I had never been disturbed in my mind and I had never been fearful before, but now I am greatly disturbed and fearful, because I have received such a supreme blessing from you, and because now I am full of all material opulences rather than disease. What will prevent me from becoming infatuated and proud? Well, infatuation and pride is such a deep-rooted propensity in everyone's heart. Why? Simply because the reason why the Jivatma comes to this material world, or even remains in this world for moment after moment, is because we want to lord it over material nature. We want to take the role of Krishna. Even we may call ourselves devotees, and we may say, Krishna is God, I am only his servant. But really, to the extent we want to control, to the extent we want to be respected and adored, to the extent we want to enjoy our senses, gross or subtle, factually what we are doing is we are competing with Krishna. Bhoktaram yagya tapasam, because everything is meant for his enjoyment. For us to aspire to enjoy anything means we are becoming Krishna's competitors. For us to expect any glorification or respect means to become Krishna's competitor, because factually all respect and glory is meant for Krishna alone. So therefore, we come to this world and we remained in this world only because of this very, very deep-rooted tendency to be the enjoyer, to be a god. And therefore, when someone recognizes that quality within us, or when many people recognize that quality within us, or when we, due to our powers of being able to do what other people, the common man, cannot do, whether it's through mysticism, whether it's through physical strength, whether it's through knowledge, whether it is through just the performance of certain occupation, as soon as we can do better than the common man, immediately, within our own hearts, this great tendency awakens. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained that it is like a weed. It is a very dangerous weed. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained even in spiritual life, when we take to Krishna consciousness, the Bhakti Lata Bij, the seed of devotion, is planted in our heart. And when that seed of devotion is planted in our heart, we take water, which is the water of hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord, and we pour it upon that seed. But Mahaprabhu explains that that same water will nourish weeds. Just like the rain when it falls from the sky or when you water the garden, that water will water the weeds as well as the plant. How is that possible? How do spiritual activities water the weeds as well? The principal weed is this weed of pride. That previously I have been striving to lord it over material nature by being respected and by being adored by so many others for my material qualities. Either I'm handsome or I'm beautiful, or I have a lot of money, or I'm very, very highly educated, or I am an expert cook, or an expert businessman. But now that I've taken to spiritual life, now people will think I'm a great saint, and they will think I am very renounced, and I'm very celibate, and I'm very much pure in heart. And over and above all, they will think that I'm more humble than a blade of grass. And then I will enjoy an even higher position. After all, when I was a big, big businessman, and when I was a good, beautiful person, highly educated, people did not touch my lotus feet. But now they are touching my lotus feet. So actually, this is even better. So you see, making spiritual advancement is dangerous in the sense that these weeds are also growing. We're pouring, and whatever spiritual qualities we're developing, whatever detachment from material nature is developing, pride can also develop. Not only can it, but it will. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained that a gardener has to be very careful. A gardener has to, while he's watering the seed, he must very scrutinizingly and carefully look for those weeds. And when he sees them, he must pull them out. Not just cut them, but pull them from the roots. Because if you cut them, they grow back stronger. And pulling from the roots is a painful affair, you know. Especially when a weed is deep-seated. When you pull it, its roots are so attached and so connected, so deeply into the ground. Our heart is like that ground. Our heart is like the soil. And when you go to pull the weed, those roots are so deeply seated in the core of our heart that it is painful. It's terribly painful. As a matter of fact, it rips our heart apart. Most people do not want to rip their heart apart. They want to just let the seed grow and let the weeds grow and grow and grow. And think that, this weed is also something very auspicious. Because then that's easy. Spiritual life becomes very simple, easy. But it's not real spiritual life. Therefore, the common people, they do not like to have a guru. What to speak of a real guru who is going to tell you what your anarthas are, and is going to tell you that sometimes that you're a rascal, and who's going to tell you that you're not correct in all your decisions, and where he's going to tell you to do things you don't like to do. Why? Because when he does that, he's pulling at the weed. He's pulling, and it's ripping your heart. And you think, what is the need of all this pulling my heart? This is not a weed. I don't need this person. I'll just chant Hare Krishna and just cry for Krishna, and I'll go back to Godhead. This is all so much disturbance, neophyteness, pulling all these weeds. After all, let's just chant, dance, be happy, go back to Godhead, that's all. It's easy. People like to do like that. But that is not the real path of Krishna consciousness. The real path of Krishna consciousness is to allow the sadhus, allow the great devotees to destroy your false pride somehow or other. Different sadhus, different gurus have different methods. It's not that one is right and one is wrong. They all have different methods. But in the way that we understand that actually I'm a fallen soul. And I have to accept this painful ordeal of giving up my false pride. Giving up this infatuation. Because if we don't, to some extent, we become like Trinavarta. Such a proud demon he was. He was thinking that I will kill Krishna. And he picked him up and started taking him higher and higher and higher and higher into the sky. And then Krishna, he began to assume the weight of a huge, great mountain. And Trinavarta, he was becoming very, very much fatigued, very tired. How was this possible? He couldn't go any higher. Never had he confronted such a personality who had greater mysticism than him. Prabhupada explained here, consequently, this would be the last time for Trinavarta's mystic yogic power. Now he was going to die by the arrangement of Krishna. But actually, do you think this is simply a historical event that has taken place 5,000 years ago? It's happening to every living being, every day. What do you think happens at the time of death? Where is all of our pride? Where is all of our fortune? We are competing with Krishna throughout our life. Are we not? We are competing with Krishna because factually every object in this world is meant for Krishna's enjoyment. Every time we pick up anything to enjoy it for our own personal sense gratification, we are competing with Krishna. Every time we enjoy anyone saying anything nice to us, or expecting that, we are competing with Krishna. In the spiritual world, everyone is chanting the holy name and glories of the Lord and His devotees. No one expects any honor for themselves. One who expects honor for oneself, one who expects wealth for oneself, one who expects that everything's going to go my way according to my plan. What does that mean? That means you're competing with Krishna. Because Krishna is the supreme controller of all controllers. Everything will go according to His plan. We're not supposed to think everything's going to go according to my plan. That's competition to Krishna. We're supposed to simply be a part of Krishna's plan. That is surrender. If Krishna, who is the supreme plan maker, the supreme controller of everything that exists, He has the master plan, both overall as well as concentrated within everybody's life. He has master plan. And surrender means to simply be a part of that plan. How do we know what the plan is? Through Guru, through Sadhu, through Shastra. Through Guru, Sadhu, Shastra, Krishna reveals His plan. If we're actually a servant, we simply want to be in harmony with His plan. We simply want to be a slave of whatever His plan may be. But if we're attached to our plan, what does that mean? We're competing with Krishna. We want to be the plan maker. We don't want to be a surrendered soul. If we want to enjoy, we're competing with Krishna. If we want to be respected, we're competing with Krishna. Trinavarta, well, how he was competing with Krishna? He was picking him up in the air to kill him. Why? So that he could enjoy the great prestige of being respected and honored by Kamsa. What to speak of all the enjoyment he would have that I have killed such a personality. And what to speak of all the material benefits he would gain through this process. Well, he was very ambitious, so ambitious he took the form of a whirlwind, taking him higher and higher and higher into the sky, under the illusion that I'm going to just go on going higher and higher and higher. But Krishna foiled all his plans. He became heavy like such a mountain that he just fell to the ground and died. Krishna does that to every one of us. However advanced we become, however famous we become, however expert we become, however wealthy we become, we're just, through our life, we're going higher and higher and higher, and then all of a sudden we feel death at our doorstep. Krishna says in Gita, I am death personified. Krishna becomes heavier than a huge mountain. We cannot bear him. Trinavarta, with all his yogic power, with all of his glory, what could he do? He was completely overcome by Krishna in the form of death. Huge mountain. And he was trying as hard as he could with all of his might, with all of his energy, to just push this Krishna off. Krishna was just a little baby child. And he was a big Rakshasa, Asura. He was pulling, pushing, struggling, fighting to get him away. And Krishna was not struggling or fighting. Krishna was playing. It is described here that although Trinavarta was such a vicious Rakshasa with the most bloodthirsty, horrible motives, I mean, such a powerful Asura would have caused complete havoc, not only in any person's heart, but in any householder. He would devastate the whole nation of India if he were to come today. He could take over the world if he came today. This is what a powerful demon he was. But Krishna was playing with him. Krishna was having good fun. Prabhupada explains. Trinavarta intended to take Krishna up in the sky and kill him. But Krishna enjoyed the pastime on riding Trinavarta's body and traveling for a while in the sky. Krishna was making it just a nice leela. You know, children always like to ride things. When they're real young, Prabhupada used to say that his children used to like him to become like a horse. And he would get on like a horse, get on his hands and knees like a horse, and then his children would get on him, and he would start going around the room, and his children would go, Haribo, Haribo. Every parent, you have done that, Nachi also. Many times. You have become a horse. You see? You see, this is the children love to ride things. First they ride on the mother, the child cries. Why? Wants the mother to pick him up so the baby could ride on the mother's, right? Pick him up, ride on their lap, ride in their embrace. Children love to ride. And then after they grow up a little, they like to ride on their father's backs, thinking, you are a horse, I am the driver. And then they grow up a little more, and they like to ride on tricycles. And then they grow up a little more, and they like to ride on bicycles, two-wheelers. And then they grow up a little more, and they like to ride on motorcycles or cars, automobiles. And then people like Tattva, they like to ride on airplanes. And in America, they love to ride merry-go-rounds. Right? Little children, tiny children, they're thinking, oh, I'm riding on a horse. Look, merry-go-round. It's just a piece of wood, but they're just having the fun that I'm riding on horse. And all music is going, and they're going around and around. And then when they get a little older, they want to ride on big roller coasters. I don't know if you have them in India, but in the West, big roller coasters. People spend millions of dollars a year All children. They just go high, high up in the air, and then they go down. And the whole idea is to get afraid. Huh? It's completely crazy. I mean, the whole purpose of material life is to become above fear. And they're spending hard-earned money to become fearful. Huh? Right? I mean, the more fearful the roller coaster, the more people love to ride it. Because they think, I mean, you're going down so fast, and you're thinking, I will die. What if the tracks break? And then you're just like, your heart practically, even children practically have heart attacks. Then they get off. I want to do that again. And the most popular movies are horror movies. Yeah, horror means like monsters and terrible murderers and just terrible killers. And people just go and they're just like, They watch it and they're scared to death. And then when they leave the movie theater, they're just looking around in all directions to make sure the monster's not following behind them. It's true. Children, they watch, and then after the movie, they sleep with their mother so that the monster will not get them. They look in all the closets and under their bed before they go to sleep to make sure the monster is not there. Right? People spend hard-earned money to become afraid, to fill their hearts with fear. Such a complete waste of human existence. Human form of life is abhaya charanararvindare, to take shelter of Krishna and become fearless. But they're taking shelter of these roller coasters and these monsters and these putting their hard-earned money so that they can become fearful. They actually enjoy being afraid. But anyways, children love to take rides. We have discussed, and I think convinced you all of this fact, that children love to ride things, especially small children. Krishna was only 1 year old. So although this terrible demon was taking Krishna up with such obscene, terrible purpose, the fact was Krishna was just enjoying having a nice ride. It was a playful leela for him. But actually, he was appearing as death personified. Trinavarta was going higher, 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 but what did he find in the end? Krishna was like a mountain, and he could not get rid of him. He could not get this huge mountain off of him. And that's how Krishna appears to everyone in this world. However high you become in this world, however great, famous, wealthy, influential, whatever your position is in this world, in the end you will find, in the form of death, Krishna is appearing as an insurmountably heavy mountain that's just going to force you to just come down to the ground, to smash down to the ground. What does that mean? At the time of death, everyone's the same. There's no difference between a white man or a black man, a man or a woman, a rich man or a poor man. When you're put in the fire does not burn differently for different classes of men. Everyone is ultimately brought down to a common denominator, whether you like it or not. If you're buried in the ground, do you think the worms are going to have a different type of feast if you are an educated man than if you're an illiterate man, if you have a PhD or if you're illiterate? Do you think the worms will care? They will just eat you the same way. And in a few years, your skeleton will be the same. Nobody will be able to differentiate whether you're a Brahmin Hindu or a Malacha American or whether you're high or low or anything. Death puts everyone in equal situation. Just like Srila Prabhupada used to use the example that after the partition, when the train loads would be coming from Lahore with just hundreds, thousands of bodies of dead Hindus, and then other train loads would come back with thousands of bodies of dead Muslims, what do? They just put them all in big mountains and burned them. There was no discrimination. There's all fighting and killing and arguing about who's a Muslim and who's a Hindu and all this nonsense. But then at the time, the common denominator, nobody even cared. There was no distinction. So Prabhupada was explaining it is all just a grand illusion. And in the end, Krishna will completely destroy, he will devastate this grand illusion. Because he comes as death. And when Krishna comes as death, he's so heavy that however powerful we are, however great we are, however influential we are overcome. Trinavarta is struggling, straining to just free himself from death. But he couldn't do it. So similarly, whether we are Hitler, Napoleon, Alexander the Great, however great a conqueror we may be, when death comes, we have to surrender. Krishna says, I am death personified. So what Krishna is doing to Trinavarta, he will do to you and me also. He will do to everyone. He will appear as death. Our option is, are we going to be like Trinavarta and compete with Krishna up to the time of death? Or are we going to surrender? Are we going to accept Krishna? Accept his plan? Accept his desire as our singular direction in life? That is the question. And if we take shelter of Krishna, if we turn to Krishna, if we keep Krishna from another point of view, always within our mind, within our heart, then he will personally destroy this Trinavarta tendency in all of us to want to lord it over material nature. Yesterday we were explaining the principle of Trinavarta, how according to the Acharyas he represents disloyal controversy. He also represents the uncontrolled mind, the desire to lord it over material nature. How can we conquer this propensity, this demon within us? We have no power to do so, whoever we are. Not through our knowledge, not through our tapasya, not through our wealth, not through our influence. Only Krishna can do it. Therefore, if we simply keep Krishna within this Trinavarta mind of ours, he will conquer it. If we simply keep Krishna on top of this ego of ours, he will conquer it. We cannot let the Trinavarta demon of our mind disconnect Krishna. The mind is always, the nature of the mind, like Trinavarta, is always to trying to push Krishna off. Try to find someone else, something else. You cannot allow it. If we keep Krishna always in our mind, what does it say in Bhagavatam? Nasta prayesha bhadreshu nityam bhagavati sevaya bhagavati uttama sloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki srinvatam sukata krishna punya sravana kirtana haridyantasto hi bhadrani vidunoti suritsitam. That by constantly remembering Krishna through the process of hearing, Krishna within our heart completely destroys everything inauspicious, completely destroys the Trinavarta demon of our mind, completely destroys all the demons within our mind and our ego. We must simply keep our mind and senses connected to Krishna. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us that simple process. We can always hear about Krishna by chanting his names. Therefore, a devotee, he doesn't just casually chant the holy name of the Lord. He understands that my mind is like a demon. It's like a whirlwind. And the only hope of subduing this whirlwind is not letting this whirlwind to somehow or other push Krishna off. We have to keep Krishna on. Huh? Therefore, when we chant the holy name, we have to do it in a sense of desperation and urgency. This mind is going to carry me away to my spiritual death if I don't keep Krishna right on it, right in it. Huh? And how do we keep Krishna in? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. But even when we're chanting the holy name, the mind is trying to push Krishna out of it. Krishna will be on your lips, but your mind is trying to force it out, trying to replace Krishna with something else, with someone else. Huh? Therefore, we have to desperately, with great urgency, we have to understand that if Krishna, this great heavy mountain of Krishna, is not subduing this whirlwind Trinavarta of my mind, then I'm finished. God knows where this demon will take me. Huh? Krishna explains in Gita that he always protects his devotee. Kaunteya pratijanehi name bhakta pranashyati. So let us always strive to keep Krishna in our mind by associating with his devotees, by engaging in his loving service, by reading his beautiful pastimes, by remembering his wonderful instructions, and by chanting his holy name. In this way we could always keep the all-powerful Yogeshwar, master of all mystics, in the forefront in our life. And he will kill these anarthas, these demons within. Is there any questions? Krishna explains, by constant practice and detachment. It's not an easy thing. We must constantly practice and detachment. That means we must constantly accept the positive principles of devotional service. We must chant the holy names attentively every day. We must read the Shastra or hear the Shastra every day. We must associate with saintly persons as much as possible. We must, over and above all these things, approach all of these devotional methods in a spirit of being servant of the servant of the servant. Because really, our constitutional nature is Gopi Bhatur Padakamala Yora Das Das Anu Das, to be the servant of the servant of the servant. And our conditioned nature is to be master. We want to be Prabhu. We do not want to be das. But when Guru initiates us, he names us das. So we must accept that my position is das. And in all of our activities, we have to approach it as das, das, anudas, as a servant of the servant of the servant. Because if we are not striving to be servant, then we will automatically, by the power of nature, strive to be master. You can't stand in between. Are you striving to be the servant of the servant? If you're not, your mind is going to force you and motivate you to be master. Master according to whatever sphere of life you're in. So therefore, this aspiration of being the servant of the servant of the servant must be underlying everything we do in our spiritual life. Whether we're worshipping the deity, whether we're participating in kirtan, whether we're chanting the name, whether we're eating prasad, whether we're doing our service, whether we're working in some business or some stock exchange or whatever crazy things you people do. If the underlying consciousness must be always that I'm servant of the servant of the servant. And as soon as you forget that, immediately you're going to aspire master, enjoyer, controller, Lord. It's very dangerous. What you are saying is correct. But Krishna says by constant practice and detachment, we can do. If we always somehow or other, in this mood, keep Krishna in our heart, gradually he will purify us of all of these influences and tendencies. But in the meanwhile, it's very important. Vasudeva told us to Gargamuni that sadhus like you are very important. You come to our homes only to put us again in the right direction. Because even though we're trying to be nice religious people and devotees, the tendency is so strong. We get so caught up with worldly subject matters, so caught up in our practical daily activities and that type of association that we forget the goal of life. We start again thinking I am the enjoyer and I'm the controller. Therefore, a grihasta who is in this situation, who has to engage in so much materialistic atmosphere so often, his greatness and his protection will be to the degree he adores, worships, and loves those in the renounced order of life, and seeks their advice, seeks their shelter, seeks to serve them. If he thinks I'm better than them, forget it. Spiritually, you're finished. All your spiritual advancement is an illusion. If you think, oh, these people, lazy, crazy fools, I'm doing so much better. Look at King Dasarat, King Yudhisthira, Krishna. I mean, what was Sudama Vipra doing? He wasn't doing any great work. He was just a humble Brahmin. But when Krishna, the Lord of Dwarka, saw him, he washed his feet. And why? To show that whoever you are, however great you are, if you're not respecting the renounced people of society, the sadhus, there's no hope. So therefore, Vasudeva explained to Gargamuni that this is what neutralizes this very, very deeply damaging influence of material association, is to associate with those who are detached, who are giving up everything, with sadhus, and to associate with them in a humble spirit of service of the servant, and to look up to them and think, oh, this is a very high thing. This is a very good thing. You have something I don't have. You are really wealthy. I am really poor at heart. This is what all the great kings in the Shastra say about the sadhus. So if you have this mentality, then Krishna will always protect you. And for the brahmacharis and sannyasis, they start thinking that, oh, the grihastas are right. I am a great soul. And then the better they get married. Get a job. Huh? Oh, the brahmacharis should just be thinking, I'm only the legs of society. I'm only here to try to... the sannyasis, they should be thinking, I'm just the servant of the servant, of the beggar in the street, of the king, of the insect, of the tree. I've renounced this world only for one, to be the servant of every living being. One only renounces this desire for family life to become the servant of every living being. All the same way? You think he gives the husband, he washes and gives a sari to him? Huh? Right? He gives a sari to the wife, right? Does your servant give you